Okay, hi, I'm Mrs. Benson. I am the teacher of 5th grade, and I'm going to be mentoring Shirley Gunther for the next 12 weeks.
And maybe how many years have you taught and what grades?
Oh, okay, so I have been a teacher for 16 years. This is the start of my 16th year. I've taught preschool all the way through 8th grade. The only grade I have not taught is 1st grade. But I prefer 5th and 6th grade. So we will start with the first week of school. What are you planning to teach on the first week of school?
Okay, so the first week, this is actually beginning of school. Today was the first day of school, and I will be going through a lot of rules and expectations. We'll be going through the different procedures in the morning, in the afternoon.
There you are.
We're on video.
You're just following me around, or I'm following you around. Hey, Andrea.
Let me just pause this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In the first week, as I was saying, we will be doing procedures, lots of expectations. I will be doing a lot of pre-assessments with math, with language arts. They'll have a beginning of the year writing sample, beginning of the year math test, just so I know exactly where the students are. And then we'll be getting into like a few of the basic things like introducing literary elements in reading. We'll be going over a simple plot diagram. I'll be administering the Fontes and Pinnell reading test. Hopefully I'll be starting it, although it probably will take me a couple of weeks to finish that. In writing, we'll be going over proofreading marks. We'll be going over journal writing procedures. We'll be talking about being an eagle eye, which is spotting errors in little paragraphs. We'll be going over the 5 steps of the writing process, and they'll have their first spelling test kind of as a practice. In math, we'll be reviewing place value before we start into adding and subtracting. And then in the cultural studies, we'll be reviewing continents and oceans and basic geography and map skills.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
And so because the first week of school, it's extremely important to set your expectations really high and start your routines.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about your routines in the classroom?
Yes. This is the front of the classroom, and in the morning we have a morning meeting, so we have a job spots, we have a calendar, we have days of school, we take our attendance with a question, we have a daily schedule that we go over with announcements. Right now there's no times in there because we're still kind of working out our schedule at the school. Then over here, tomorrow we're going to be getting into our morning procedures and our afternoon procedures, which are very specific so that the kids know exactly what I expect of them when they come and go each day. And then over here, this is something new this year I decided to do. Since they can't line up in the hallway because we're right next to the offices this year, they have lineup spots so that there's order in the classroom before they go to their specials. The actual class rule is do to others what you want them to do to you, but then it breaks down into 5 things that they hold up. They hold up their hands for a high five, and those include, let me see right here. You want to hold it?
Yeah.
There's 5 ways to show that, and that is be kind, try hard, listen well, clean up, have fun, and then we give each other a big high five. So that's kind of our basic rule, and there's the main rule right there, and it kind of is paraphrased as don't cause a problem for others. And then I have a chart that we'll be going over of what they can expect if they have high five behavior and what they can expect if they're causing a problem for others, and I have it listed out what will happen specifically. And then over here, there is a little spot. Some teachers would call this the timeout spot. I call it the take a trip spot because it's not really punishment. It's more for them to take a break, and then when they're ready, they get to choose to go back to their spot. But if they're really struggling to pay attention, then they come back here, but they decide when to come back.
And how long do you think that it'll take for you to establish the routine, and how often will you practice? So is this something that...
That's a great question. For me, it takes at least the first full week. Is a lot of just going over those things over and over again, and then we review it weekly because we have a Thursday. Well, last year was Thursday, but there's a weekly class meeting where we repeat and we go over the expectations, especially the rule, and then we play games that help us learn how to have group interaction and get along together.
That's great. So let's see, after routines come your teaching, your objectives and your units and your standards that you're going to be teaching. So what are your plans for that?
Okay, well, first of all, since I'm already teaching and I'm a homeroom teacher for 3rd grade, this is 12 weeks for the clinical, so QSI, the school that we work at, kind of already gives us what our standards are and what our objectives must be. So for the beginning of the year, each of the teachers, we created a course overview for our classes, so that's what I'm looking at here. And I teach 6 different subjects, so during those 12 weeks, I'll be covering about 3 units for each of those subjects. So real quickly, for reading and writing literacy, I'll be covering Unit 1, or EO1 through EO3, Foundations of Reading and Writing, Introduction to Stories, so they'll be writing a personal narrative, responding to text, they'll be doing descriptive writing. Then for mathematics, I skipped over that one. EO1 would be addition and subtraction within 1,000. EO2 is represent and interpret data, which would be a lot of tally charts, surveys, graphs. And then EO3 will be doing understanding and multiplication. So right around November, we'll be really going over basic multiplication facts. And then in science, during that time, there will only be 1 science unit, and that will be EO1, Science and Engineering Practices. And then cultural studies, I'll be covering 2 units, and that's geography and human interaction, and types of government.
Let's move on to the rubric that we'll be using for your clinical. And basically, I'd just like to know what you feel that you are really strong in teaching and some of your weaknesses that you'd like to improve and how I can help you.
Okay. This was the rubric that we both have a copy of. When I read through it a few times, and I still have a few things that are I need to go over and keep on going over, but I think standard 1, which was student development, I feel that I'm strong in that area. I do a lot with just working with students and as individuals, and I really care about them, and we do a lot of activities to help promote each student. I would say I'm also strong in standard 3. It's missing in our copy.
Learning environments.
Oh, thank you. Learning is that the one? Yeah, learning environments. Creating a cozy class climate and a place that kids really want to be. I think that's a strong area of mine. The areas that I feel I'm weak would be standard 4, which is content knowledge, especially since I teach 6 different subjects and sometimes I'm teaching a new curriculum. I feel sometimes that I'm weak in the area of content because there's so much to plan for each day. And then the other area that I feel I'm quite weak in is standard 6, which is assessments. Especially at our school where we're not really expected to give a summative assessment, and we're supposed to be assessing along the way. Sometimes it's difficult to know how to assess and make sure that we're really assessing them well, my students well. And then the others I feel adequate in, but neither strong or weak.
Okay. That's great. I
Okay.
think your classroom is warm and cozy, and kids are excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to watching you teach.
Me too, and I'm looking forward to having you. Thank you